Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay. I had thought that I had shared this article with you guys, but I was wrong. Australia's Scientology's child labor camp exposed. Summary. In the middle of suburban Australia is a secret compound that is labeled as degrading and inhumane, with allegations of keeping children prisoner. Lots of first-hand accounts, too, out there, just so you guys know. 14 February 2012. Right in the middle of a quiet suburb is a place where children are separated from their parents. I argue with that one. Wakey, wakey, wakey. And forced to work full-time, no pay, and live in squalid conditions. The parents handed them over. Those who've survived this place say they were brainwashed into believing they could not leave, and that they deserve the shocking treatment dished out. A young man who escaped the place with the help of his father, Shane Kelsey, says, I lived in that garage for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. Shane is now 21 years old. Until just over a year ago, he had never used the internet, watched television, or followed the media. You're not allowed to read any books other than Scientology books. You can't read newspapers, no radio, no movies, nothing, Shane said. Shane says he was held captive and groomed to see all of us on the outside as pathetic, useless, and stupid. So I lived in a garage until that got flooded by a storm, and my mom got really pissed off and said, what the hell? And so I got moved into a closet. It is a closet under the stairs, maybe 2 meters long and 2 meters wide, Shane said. The true Australian headquarters of the cult of Scientology are located in the Sydney suburb of Dundas. The RPF base, which stands for Rehabilitation Project Force, is where Scientologists, including children, are sent for punishment and training for crimes that most of us would regard as trivial. Does it remind you guys of Germany back in the 40s? More than 50 requests for interviews on camera with representatives from the Church of Scientology have been flatly refused. Of course. The bottom line is they don't want people to know what's going on inside the center, and those who've lived in there, like Shane, say it's like a gulag or a prison. Yet it's in the middle of a suburb, which could be any suburb in Australia. People would be horrified to know what has been going on in there for so many years and continues to this day. Shane Kelsey's mother and father were dedicated Scientologists in Sydney. You see, he actually had parents. So they put their son Shane into the highest core at the age of 6. 6 years old, guys. Little Shane moved into a tiny room with 11 other children. That's not potential for problem, is it? By the age of 7, Shane says we'd go down the streets and there'd be 8 of us, 10 of us, and we'd go down and pledge people up to drug-free lives. So yeah, you guys, one of their front groups, drug-free for America, I guess maybe drug-free for Australia. I signed my contract when I was 8 years old. I'm gonna say that again for a lot of the freaking brain-dead people out here. I signed my contract when I was 8 years old. LAPD. It was a billion-year contract, which means you're volunteering, basically slaving, or servicing the church for the next billion years, Shane said. We used to do marching, close order drilling, things like that, just because it was a form of discipline, he said. No, that's actually abuse, just so everybody knows. Because a lot of people don't seem to get it. Shane saw his parents once a week. His mother and father would soon separate, and his dad, Adrian, moved overseas and then left Scientology. So essentially his dad left him there to rot. I'm just saying. Meanwhile, the work schedule for children was full-time, hard, and without reward. In most countries, that's called manual labor, indentured servitude, child abuse, physical abuse. mental abuse. I'm sorry, guys. Something's going on over here. I don't know what's going on. Meanwhile, the work schedule for children was full-time, hard, and without reward. Working 35 hours a week when he was 8 years old, by the time he was 14, the work changed to kitchen duty. Oh, just like SP Chef, except I think SP Chef started when he was 13, so he got a few years before he worked in the kitchen. The LAPD doesn't know, the FBI doesn't know, the parents don't know, the frickin' loser scumbag executives don't know. A military muster every morning required marching and saluting to the cause of saving mankind from the intergalactic ravages described by the church's science fiction founder and felon, convicted felon, L. Ron Hubbard. The kids wore all black uniforms and were always required to run, never walk. If you guys look into it, I'm going to do a video on color programming, but if you look into it, the youth of the NAZI, I'm pretty sure they were black too, I think. So-called homeschooling was provided in fits and starts, taking a back seat to hard labor and brainwashing. Sound like North Korea? Sound like America? As soon as you turn 15, anyone, you're straight out of school. It doesn't matter what grade you're in, what level of math, what level of anything, you're straight out, Shane said. The mess hall served food priced to 30 cents per meal, mostly beans and rice. The adults ate first. For anybody who didn't understand what he just said, the adults ate first. Everything's inverted. When I was a young child, always the children ate first. What kind of sickness is that, Mike Rinder? They would all come in and eat whatever they wanted, and then we went after them to take what's there. See, all these executives knew, so I'm just over it already. Sometimes there wouldn't be much, so you'd get little bits of food, and it wasn't really sufficient, Shane said. In most statutes, that's called neglect. Everybody say it with me. Neglect. Not providing a child with enough food and shelter. Neglect. Abuse. In all countries. Everywhere throughout the world. Those who dared question the brutality of this place were dealt with swiftly and severely. You know who could attest to that? Jenna Miscavige, read her book. They used to live under our squash courts. It's a mud dirt floor, Shane recalled. We put people in there and they live in there. When they're on the RPF, they'd sleep down there and they'd study down there. They're fudging the words here, you guys. They're talking about children. He said we put people in there. He means children. Media is always cleansing stuff. Why would you put children? I'm going to change people to children. And just so you guys know that's my prerogative. Why would you put children in a dank, moldy, sinking foundation underneath a squash court? Please tell, Mike Rinder. Marty Rathburn. Was the other freaking witch over at Harrison Hotel? I can't think of her name right now. According to Shane, it's because you're a bad person. You have to be segregated from everyone. By the age of 15, see, that just proves my point. They were talking about children, but yet the media prints it as people. No, children. Go look it up in the dictionary. By the age of 15, Shane was living a nightmare. Even he now struggles to believe. I think he was like 18 or 19 when he was interviewed. Something like that. As soon as I turned 15, I was working 7 days a week, 14-hour days. You see, children really are in Scientology working like this. It's not just like a figment of people's imagination. People are not just making up stories. It really is happening now. That's 100 hours a week spent in a commercial kitchen, just like SP Chef, who was 13. And who else? I read someone else recently. I can't remember right now, but a female who really went through a lot of abuse. One of my videos covered it. She was working in the kitchen, so they really love the children to be their servants. They get off on it. That's 100 hours a week spent in a commercial kitchen, Shane and other children slaved away, cooking meals all day, every day, studying and snatching what little sleep they could. Abuse, neglect, physical abuse, physical harm, failure to thrive. Anything else, you guys? We'd get anywhere between $4 to $35 a week, Shane said. Hold on, guys, I gotta check something. Okay. This recorder doesn't go past a half hour. Among those who needed to be fed was billionaire James Packer. For several years, beginning in 2002, Packer came to the Church of Scientology in the early mornings to receive auditing instruction. Also goes to prove that these wealthier celebrity types, they know what's going on. There's no suggestion, see, they got to cover it. There's no suggestion Packer had any idea who was preparing his meals or their work conditions. I don't believe that. And maybe he's trying to cover, or maybe he doesn't know. Meals don't just appear in the air. Packer left Scientology around 2008. It would be more than 2 years until Shane made his break for freedom. In late 2010, Adrian Kelsey decided to rescue his son. Well, that's good. See, some parents don't forget their children. Okay, you guys, I'm going to stop it there and make a part 2, but I'm going to go ahead and get a different recorder because I don't want to be timed at 30 minutes. So I hope that you guys listen to part 2 as well.